I am Jay, and I interviewed teachers on the teaching of video and media in high school, so there you go. Behind your favorite TV shows, movies, and news programs are the unseen people who work behind the scenes and out of view. And whether they're producers, writers, directors, or editors, they all had to have their start somewhere. So behind all these important people are the less known, but just as important, teachers who taught them what they need to know to make your shows a success.
My name is Ed Morneau, and I taught film studies at Dedham High School for approximately 5 years. I wrote the course, developed it based on my degree from Boston University, where I studied film production for my master's degree.
I had a career in television for about 20 years, working in a variety of stations, from independent stations in the Boston market to a CBS affiliate in the Rochester, New York market, to PBS here, WGBH, Channel 2, and also at some post-production facilities. So I think it was about 20 years, and I taught at the college level. I've been teaching at the college level for about 15 years, and just started teaching at the high school level 3 years ago.
Each teacher teaches their students differently, judging from their history, personal aspects, and what resources are at their disposal.
The assignment choices come from my years of experience, in which I try to see what skills they're going to develop, what skills the students are going to develop best within the assignment. And also throwing in, as a little side note, I want to make sure everybody has a little hint of media literacy, or making sure that they understand the power they have as editors. So I choose the assignment based on the outcome of what I want them to do, and just basic things that I know that they really need to know how to do if they're thinking about this for a career, or if they're thinking about this for a college entrance.
So there are a lot of different things to teach in film, from film theory to technology to lighting to genres. American filmmaking is in and of itself a whole thing that you can study. When I taught at Dedham, I chose American film genres, from the romantic comedy to combat film to film noir to the horror film to subgenres like the prison film to films like melodramas, the studio system films. There's also the buddy movie, the Saturday Night Live genres, all the talent that breaks away from Saturday Night Live, they now belong to their own genre. So it's a very, very wide palette of films to choose from.
The video industry has been growing more and more over the years, and its significance in our society is becoming even more important.
Well, I think it's important to study films because kids today receive most of their information through the visual world, whether it's TV, video games, computer, or films themselves. So I really believe, I've heard some statistic, I think it was Action for Children's TV, where students, for every 200 hours of video or film they see, they only read 1 hour of reading material. So that's a pretty wide ratio. So I think we have to teach the language of visual education, and I think that because film culture is so enormous, especially over the past 50 years, that film studies, film is a language that they have to learn. So that's also, kids are immediately engaged, simply because of the makeup of the human brain. They're immediately engaged with the electronic impulses that could shoot right through their eyeballs, right into their olfactory nerve centers, and it's very images are very stimulating to the brain. So it's no wonder that when you walk into a room when the TV is on, or when you walk into a movie theater, you're immediately hypnotized by images, because it has a natural relationship with the brain.
I think it's imperative that students learn about communication. I mean, they need to understand where all this information is coming from, how it's gathered, and how it's disseminated to everybody. They need to understand how a newspaper in one city may report a story differently than a newspaper in another city, or how a TV news station will cover something differently even within the same city. So we have to understand everything for communication, even if you don't plan on going into TV. If you're just going to go into business, but there's going to be some area of webcasting involved, you need to understand the visual technology that's going on behind it.
Well, I think on the high school level, because students study language arts for so many years, I think by the time students are juniors and seniors, I think that film studies and media studies should be part of the language art requirement. I believe that media studies should be taught from K through 12, in graduated levels. But film studies would be a really great enrichment course for students. And I think that students who have done well in language arts throughout high school deserve, these types of enrichment courses. And I think our society is very stubborn in recognizing that film is a language, and it's a dominant language compared to books. And that's tough for me to say as an English teacher because I love to read. But I studied film simply because I love film too. When push comes to shove, I'd rather read, but still, film is a viable art in our culture. It's never going to go away, and it's developing along lines they get more sophisticated every year, and the language gets more complex. And unfortunately, a lot of the films that are made are they're not very good stories, And I think that once the kids learn how to read a film, they'll demand better films. And right now, it's just like candy. A lot of the blockbusters are just candy.
And then once the students become a little bit more advanced, then they can kind of, guide themselves into what would be a good choice for what they like to do. Where does their interest lie? So, for instance, if you're telling a story about something, what is the story you want to tell? It doesn't have to be the story I want them to tell. So I set the groundwork with a lot of the foundations, a lot of fundamentals, and then I let them go from there.